Amogus.
Mediocre and dead memes aside, this webcomic is called Stone Toss, and assuming that you don't know what that is, it's a comedic, political webcomic from an extreme right-winger's perspective. Stone, what he refers to himself as, or Stony or whatever, makes his comics about LGBT people, gay people, trans people, racism, sexism, governmental systems, BLM, and some other more recent things like his NFTs. Yes, he made NFTs called Flirks. I won't be talking about those due to them being unrelated, but we should talk about the first thing that you see, the art style. I think the art style is a little weird. It ropes you into thinking that this comic is going to be wholesome, cute, or funny to anyone reading. The biggest problem with it is that it's super unfitting because of the subject matter of the comic, as it's super cartoony and colorful. A minor problem has to be that everyone's face looks the exact same. It's fine though because there aren't any recurring or named characters, so the need to identify the difference between characters is not vital. How about the second thing you notice in the comic? The subject matter. As the author said in his about part of his webcomic, he makes transgressive art, which is when people don't limit themselves to socially acceptable things. Rarely it's real stuff that happens that makes sense, but 99% of it is just offensive and a negative representation of any group of people that he chooses for that day. Example, look at the shirt of the guy in the second panel. To be more specific about groups of people, I mean liberals, LGBT people, and anyone that is not white, as expected from a far right-winged comic. I wouldn't have any problem with this if there was balance. From what I've seen, he doesn't make fun of absurdist right-wing people or white people or anything like that, making it questionable if he is racist or alt-right since these are all of his jokes. He likes to humanize Nazis, which is an obviously terrible thing to do, especially if you want to not look like a Nazi yourself. As he says in the about page, he says that he's not an evil Nazi and stuff like that. He puts things in his webcomic like these that downplay the Holocaust. Don't let the man control your feelings, just open your mind. Honestly, it seems more likely that prisoners died from insufficient supply lines in a war-torn Germany rather than enough delousing chemical to gas 6 million Shut up! This is fucked because in a very Wikipedia article he linked, it says that 6 million Jews were murdered in the Holocaust. And no one said that they only used gas to kill them either. No matter what, if it's a different group of people than his, he puts it in a negative spotlight. I get it too. This is meant to be an uber edgy webcomic with things you can't say without everyone hating you. But this is on another level, especially with the unironic humanization of Nazis and racist people in this comic. He also makes all these minority groups act the same. He portrays them as wrong, hypocritical, and absurd as possible. Not saying that he shouldn't be able to say these things in his webcomic, since he's super crazy about free speech and stuff. I'm just telling you how fucked the things that he says are in the comic. Plus he has an extreme misunderstanding of different groups of people's messages. Like this one. How can you say that while so many black people are killed by the police? All lives matter. He not only shoves black people in a bad spotlight by having him kill tons of people, showing that he thinks black people are a threat, but he also has an all lives matter sign and a police officer that killed a single black man versus the other one who killed a lot of people. White people, by the way. It's like he's saying that they're a danger to white people or something. He also downplays police brutality on black people. Might be looking into it too much, but I could see that actually being one of his beliefs. Obviously all lives matter. What the purpose of Black Lives Matter is that they're saying that they matter as much as white lives, since they're a group of people that are treated differently and unfairly. Normally I would say that this is just to be comedic or funny or whatever, but because of the way he comes across this topic, it feels like this is really how he feels about blacks. Like, they're killing our people, why would they matter? Something like that. About the sexism. Ah, another perfect morning in paradise. Nothing could ruin this day. I am a woman. Basically saying that women ruin good things. He does use some other jokes like women belong in the kitchen and stuff, you know, that classic all the time. It's really annoying actually. I can see the joke in this one, so it's not as bad as the previous one, which is just racist. The comedy. Speaking of jokes, the comedy is awful. This is easily one of the most hit and miss comics with humor. I put it at 5 to 95. 5 out of 100 of these comics, I'd laugh or just exhale from the nose. 95 out of 100, I'd react in annoyance. When it's actually funny, it gives me a small exhale through my nose and a really short smile while combining offensiveness and humor well. But that's only sometimes, mostly when it's not trying to make a political statement. A lot of it feels like being offensive is the entire joke. Sometimes I can't detect a punchline other than, oh, they're Jewish, so yeah, that makes sense. Or, oh, they're black, so they do that. Or, oh, they're trans, so yeah, they'll do that. Edgy humor can be hilarious, but because of the predictability of all the humor in these comics, just about none of it is funny. As soon as you see a black person, or trans person, or any group of people that isn't white, you can guess what stereotype they'd be using. Black person would be doing violence, trans person would be screaming at somebody, or weird, or like a suicide joke or something. There's not really much else to say about this section of the comic though, since it's always just predictable, offensive, or political jokes. Except once or twice. Since you made it this far, leave a like and subscribe. Also leave a comment saying what you thought about this video. Continuing, the author. The final part of this video. Normally I'd be talking about the plot, but there isn't one. Throughout the webcomic, you get a feeling of, hey, this guy hates everyone that isn't him, huh? But a webcomic that someone makes doesn't determine what the author is like. Even though he always talks about how dumb gays are, how violent and overprotected blacks are, or how the Jews aren't real white people, I still want to go and see some of what he said on his social media platforms. Daily reminder that the correct response to people accusing someone of being a racist or a Nazi isn't, but is he really? It's actually, so what? It is understated the degree to which your opposition requires your consent to win. Withhold it. There's nothing racist about my NFTs, other than haters like you trying to tear me down. We are creating a way for people to remember George Floyd in the metaverse. Whether you like it or not, the metaverse is the future. We want George Floyd to not be left behind in the past. Stone Toss Comics retweeted. Most of it now is about his NFTs and Floydy's NFTs, or just reposts of his comics. Floydy NFTs are many different NFTs of George Floyd, which is disrespectful to him and his death, due to most NFTs being the same image with slight variations that only have value because someone said that they did. His real support for these NFTs make his actual self confusing, as it's incredibly hard to tell if Stone Toss is joking about this or if he's actually racist. Also, the daily reminder tweet. If someone's being accused of being a racist or Nazi, then the validity of that matters, because that means they treat a person with a different skin color or uncontrollable traits differently, which is an awful thing and makes a person a trash human being. He did delete that tweet, probably because it didn't help the Nazi accusations. Not accusing him of being a real Nazi or neo-Nazi now, but it'll be very easy to accuse him of being a racist, or at least someone who is complicit with racism. In summary, this webcomic was created by a probably racist guy that posts webcomics in order to piss off most groups of people for young teenagers that find anything offensive funny. I learned in school that every piece of media tells you a lesson, and the lesson I learned from this is that if you speak what you truly think too much, you'll be seen as an asshole and people want to silence you. Keep going, Stone Toss. I'll be waiting for the first homophobic or impertinent racial slur in your comic, since that's the only way to go down from here. Subscribe and like this video if you enjoy reviews of webcomics, video games, or whatever, or maybe some other things like random tier lists and hopefully iceberg videos, if those still exist. I don't know if those are so big. I always want to make one though. Just leave suggestions in the comments. That aside, I hope you enjoyed this shorter video and have a good rest of your day, unless you like Stone Toss.